All right, Phillies, not a weird series, but a series that had a lot. You had injuries. I mean, you had good wins.
Jeez.
You had quality wins. You had great pitching by the great pitchers. James, tell me this is accurate. Great pitching by the great pitching and bad pitching by the bad pitchers.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Is that a pretty, like, the one game I thought really, like, it's like you have one game where you got Nola, you got Strom, you got Alvarado, and you got Hoffman. Like, if you knew going into that game, those four guys are going to pitch, you're like, yeah, pretty good chance Phil's are going to win. And all four did their job, right? Then you get a game like yesterday. So you had a bunch of relievers did well in between. But on the front side, you got Taijuan Walker. On the back side, you got Soto.
Yeah.
Like, John, some of this stuff you can just see in advance. So, look, here's the deal. We want to hear from you at 215-592-9494. Your reaction to a weekend that had a lot going on with the Phils. Great defense. Bohm, Stott, Alvarado defensively. But John, I mean, biggest story from the weekend, I don't know.
Alvarado went crazier than I've ever seen Jose Alvarado go when he was able to, get out of that.
Almost gave up the home run, so I think he felt a little bit extra.
But it was like a couple major size of relief in a row.
All right, so where do you want to start, John? Do you want to start with the positives that they won 2-3? Do you want to start with Taijuan? I mean, he is a lug right now on this whole operation. I'll tell you what, he's hard to watch. He's not Sixers without Joel, March and April hard to watch. Because that was like almost impossible when they play without Joel. It was almost impossible to watch. But when Taijuan Walker's out there, now I don't mean to start negative because I feel great about the Phillies. I mean, they got a great record.
Well,
they won 2-3.
You're starting negative if you're talking Taijuan.
You tell me, John, what hits you? What's top of mind from you from the weekend?
It's kind of hard to reverse out of that now that we're talking Taijuan. Let's continue where we were going. Taijuan Walker, like every year, it seems like his ERA is creeping a point higher, a run higher. You go back, it's like 3.49 in 2022, 4.38 in 2023, and then we couldn't trust him in the playoffs.
Right.
5.73 right now. Again, I do not feel negatively about this team.
No, you shouldn't.
I feel worried about Taijuan. Because his velocity is just plain a problem. It's down. The numbers, once again, those numbers I told you, his ERA creeping up year after year. He used to throw 93 or 94 miles an hour. In his first spring appearance as a Philly,
that's why he got 70.
He threw 94.1.
Yeah.
His fastball was 94.1, the average velocity, that spring appearance. And now his numbers are 91. Baseball Savant says his fastball velocity is 91.3 miles per hour this season. That's a problem. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it seems like everything's up also.
I agree with that.
And it seems like everything is just like laid out there on a platter.
It looks like
for
a
hitters.
cookie. It looks like a cookie.
So
doesn't it?
Easy to hit.
I know.
And it's sickening that's our team's pitches laid out there like a smorgasbord of deliciousness for our opponents.
So here, all right, the good news is,
But the team's amazing.
That's true. But as it relates to Taijuan, the good news is that, there's a better chance than not that he's not going to pitch in the postseason.
Well, yeah, last year he didn't.
I mean,
why would that be different this year? We have Spencer Turnbull, who I trust significantly already.
But you never know when an injury is going to happen to the pitching staff. No, it hasn't happened yet in any meaningful way. I mean, again, I say meaningful because it looks like Rangers dodged a bullet. I mean, we don't totally know, but Rob Thompson talked in a positive way before the game yesterday, which, of course, was after Saturday's game.
That was terrifying.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's his pitching hand. So there's a lot on that. Look, the whole weekend we want to put on the table at 215-592-9494 because there's an awful lot to react to. I mean, one reality is that the injuries are mounting. Now, obviously, Trey Turner, I guess is getting closer to coming back. It's been a couple weeks now. They've played good baseball without him. He obviously had that setback about a week and a half or so ago, and so he has not yet reappeared. But I'll tell you what has appeared. An injury to Ranger. We'll see if he can make his next start. Sounds like big picture he's going to be okay. Now, the one this weekend, John, that really is going to grab him is Brandon Marsh. I mean, what we saw from him
looked like a bad hamstring.
That looked like like you're going to be out for weeks or a month.
He is an explosive player, and this is the type of thing that, it really hinders you. And you try to come back just like with Trey. Trey tries to come back. You set yourself back an awful lot with a hamstring. It feels good. It feels healed. And you feel like you can open it up, just like Brandon Marsh was trying to do yesterday. He tried to open it up just a skosh coming around second base, and it tweaked.
To my eye, his looked worse than Trey Turner's.
He looked like it really bothered him a lot.
Well, he had to scamper back to second, which compounds it because he's actually got to continue to make a baseball play after suffering the injury, rounding the base. So now he's got to get back to second. He's like hopping on one leg. The whole thing looked ridiculous.
I've had a lot of hamstring issues myself.
Yeah.
Not fun. And the more explosive you are, the worse off you are. Like the more explosive you are, the longer it seems to take to come back.
And so
that's why it's going to be forever for Brandon Marsh.
You know what John Gruden did with John Ritchie's hamstring?
Get back out there.
Get your ass out there on Sunday. I'll see you in 5 days. Go play the game. But it does go to show you football and baseball, obviously two different sports with the way they treat these things. Look, there's an awful lot from the weekend to react to. 215-592-9494. James, biggest thing that hit you this weekend? The Phils are still 6.5 up. I thought for the most part, entertaining series. Last night, frustrating. What hit you the most?
Yeah, look, they won 2 of 3. I can't freak out. I know we've gotten accustomed to them sweeping, and every time they lose a game, it's the end of the world. But the biggest thing is Ranger being okay. That was definitely of everything that happened, the biggest impact on the season that I saw happening. That's huge. The Marsh injury is an issue, though, especially because we've talked a lot. If you're going to look at this team and say, certainly offensively, where are they weakest? It's the outfield. They're tough, and Marsh against righties was one of the few things you could count on out there. So that could be a bigger injury than we think. It certainly was an impactful weekend.
Here's where the Marsh injury, I think, becomes particularly, I'll call it, complicated. So the trade deadline's in about 2 months. We obviously just made the cross from May to June. Trade deadline, obviously, the end of July. They are probably going to be without Marsh for a stretch of time here, which means they may be inclined to go get an outfielder now, to try to settle things down. And if they do, then that person presumably would be in the mix for postseason baseball. So then it's like, well, then who wouldn't be? Rojas, Pache, Whit Merrifield. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, they may try.
Right now it's Whit Merrifield, if you ask me.
No, I know, but Marsh being a left. Well, as you were saying, who would be less inclined to be? Yeah, maybe Pache. Pache gets that at bat last night.
I know.
And probably.
So did Castellanos.
Yeah.
Think about that, man. Last ditch effort, and it's low and away.
But you know who didn't get an at bat? JT.
Yeah.
Who should have gotten the at bat? Just should have. It's so, look, there's a lot to react to from the weekend at 215-592-9494. The Marsh injury, though, it could change the whole equation out there. It's impossible to, look, maybe they just say, we'll deal with what we got. But, I'll tell you this, if they're facing a right-handed pitcher, and, probably 75 or 80% of baseball starters are right-handed pitchers, you're a lesser team without Brandon Marsh's left-handed stick out there. Bottom line is Pache, righty, Rojas, righty, Whit Merrifield. See what I'm saying? What are you going to do out there? So I don't know. We'll see if Dave Dombrowski gets involved. Obviously, first and foremost, got to find out what they sense for how long Brandon Marsh will be out for. Look, an awful lot from the weekend to react to, 215-592-9494. I think the two biggest things, James hit it on one, Ranger avoiding major injury. Because it was almost Ranger, maybe having a major injury. So I guess the biggest thing is probably Ranger avoiding a major injury, it seems, based on what Rob Thompson said yesterday. But the other thing is Marsh, as it relates to the next month, as it relates theoretically to October. Do they make a move or not? And if so, who's the person that comes on in? And then how does that impact and who does it impact? Who's going to make the postseason roster and who starts in playoff games? I don't know. A lot to react to. 215-592-9494. Obviously, another great weekend as far as, crowds at the ballpark. You get a Bryce Harper home run on Saturday night. Nola did his thing.
And it was second decker.
That's right. It was a shot. And look, Phils, while they lose yesterday, Braves win yesterday, but the Phils remain 6.5 games up and obviously in a great spot. By the way, Rhys Hoskins also comes back tonight. We'll get into that reality and more. Your phone calls on the Phils. We'll get to the Eagles and 76ers as well. A lot going on. 215-592-9494. If you were at the ballpark this weekend, listen here on WIP, watch on TV. Obviously, we want to hear from you on the Fighting Phils. 2 or 3, but some injuries certainly are setting in. Joe DeCamera, John Ritchie on 94 WIP.